You know what? Screw it. Let's do a real one. So before I start, I'd like to explain by saying that Six Flags Over Texas is an amusement park in Texas. I don't know where exactly, but it holds a very special place in my heart because it was where I went with my family a lot when I was younger, and it was my first real exposure to roller coasters and thrill rides in general. Like I'd been to Disney World, but Disney's sole purpose wasn't really to make like great roller coasters as much as it was to build an experience for you to go through. So for me, Six Flags roller coasters were like this really visceral thrill that was very edgy and didn't feel like didn't feel safe, and it was amazing. It was like one of my favorite things. I'd never experienced anything like it. So here's my little love letter to this crusty theme park. Number 5, Judge Roy Scream. So I like this ride a lot. It's one of the coolest ones because it has all this history behind it. It was introduced in 1980 to the park, but it was named after this Texas judge named Judge Roy Bean. And it's interesting because apparently this guy was such like a famously curmudgeonly character that they made the whole ride just a big pun off of his name, which is really funny. Other than that, like it's a really great roller coaster. It's a cool wooden coaster. It's like, I don't know, it's so old, like you probably won't get a lot of these kind of coasters anymore these days, especially with so many steel coasters being made. It's just, I guess people view it as safer and a better investment, but these good wooden coasters, there's a bunch of them across the country, but Judge Roy Scream is just like this really nice wooden roller coaster that's a really good time. I particularly remember loving the stark white coloration and like the blue and red. Kind of felt like an American flag, and then all the little hills in succession were really fun, and made for a really good coaster. So that's what I love about that. That's that one coaster. Number 4, Shockwave. So Shockwave is actually really cool. I like how all the coasters in the park often have distinct colorations in their designs, because it really gives you this sense of like entering a new environment whenever you go to a new ride, and it's fun. So this green coaster, Shockwave, is no exception. It's very simple, no frills, just one gimmick. It's got 2 giant loops in the first part, and then they just give you like, after the loops, they give you this extra track to coast on, and you try to process what just happened, essentially. So I like how this was designed, because it has like one really good thing about it, and then that's all it's worried about, and then I'll put any extra stuff besides that. You just do your 2 loops, and then you ride a roller coaster for a couple minutes, and then you're done. It's just a simple, great, really fun ride that's like really thrilling. I love it. For example, they don't put any like extra crap on it, like an animatronic man waving to you or anything. It's just like one straight up great coaster, so that's really cool. Number 3, the Texas Giant. Now this list is a little bit weird because I'm actually talking about the wooden Texas Giant, and that's like long gone. Nowadays, the Texas Giant is a steel coaster with wooden supports in the framing, while before it was all wooden, which was really fun while also being really horrible. The thing like shook you a lot because it was so old. It was like an earthquake was going on while you were riding it, and apparently this was because time was taking its toll on the ride after about the early 2000s, which, hooray, was when I was first getting to come to the park. So I experienced this incredibly scary, like, you would get shaken from like the left to the right of your seat over and over again, and it was just absolute madness. But it was like, it kind of hurt your neck, but it was really fun. I remember going back one year, and it wasn't open, and it was like, oh, that's too bad. And we came back another year, and it wasn't open, and there was a sign that said, "This is under construction. We're gonna remake this entire thing as a steel coaster." And it's definitely because it wasn't safe. I'm also thinking that it'd be weird if I didn't mention that someone totally died on this thing. So if you want to learn about that, then Google is your friend. But otherwise, when I rode it, it was a great time. Number 2, Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast. Okay, I love this ride. This is such a really weird thing because I forgot how much I like this ride until now that I'm like looking at it again. But I like all the coasters and thrill rides and stuff at Six Flags Over Texas, but like this one is interesting because it kind of evokes a certain level of like passion in me, like about how much I love it, just because I really like it. And it's because the design of the coaster exists not just for a cool flashy track setup, which it is, it's very interesting to see from a distance, but also because it actually makes the ride a lot more fun with the way it's set up. If you can't tell, this coaster begins you with the cars facing backwards before a magnetic propulsion thingy sends you backwards at 70 miles an hour. So instead of doing like a regular like electronic lift or like a push that makes you go really fast forwards, you start this crazy thrill ride backwards. And then you go on this really fast, pretty smooth ride for what it's throwing you through. And then you realize that like, oh, wait a minute, this thing isn't a looping track, it just ends at one point. And that's because you end up vertically looking straight down and you've run out of track, and they just let you have, they just let you free fall. And then that free fall gives you the momentum to bring you back. So you just ride through what you just rode through backwards, forwards, and that's how the ride ends. So it's like half is backwards, half is forwards, and it's just a really, really cool, like awesome ride. So I think it's just a really good time, and it's so fast, so it really hits on the nail on the head when it comes to like, you know, those crazy eye-widening thrills, you know what I mean? So I love it. That's that. Number 1, Titan. Okay, so this one wins. It definitely wins. It's this giant orange roller coaster. It's so cool. It's the tallest one at the park, first of all, so it's incredibly intimidating to look at. It's also one of the funnest, smoothest rides of anything I've ever experienced, so that makes it pretty freaking great. I mean, I remember being so excited to ride something so huge when I was younger, even though it was so scary. And I totally would have wimped out too, but there was something like so majestic about this coaster, like when you looked up at it, especially at night, that when I was young I was like, I knew I would 100% regret it if I didn't ride it. So I did ride it, and it was worth it, and it was such a cool ride. A fun fact, it's also in the category of hypercoaster, which means it's at least 200 feet tall. I think it's like 245 feet tall. And if you can tell by the video, it's just this crazy awesome ride, and I love it. So that's number 1. That's the best roller coaster at Six Flags Over Texas. If you ever end up there, it's a great place. So that's that. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.